The Wiregrass Museum of Art created the Intergenerational Learning Project to give students like me the opportunity to learn from those in other generations. All of the people interviewed have one thing in common. They have risen above hardships and now have an informed and wise outlook on the past and our future. With each interview, we were presented with an opportunity to learn more about our world, our culture, and our local history. Now we present our conversations with you.
Hi, my name is Jamal Morris. I am 17 and I am a student at Northview High School.
Is Marvin B. Jack Cox. I live in Dothan. I'm a Vietnam veteran. I went in the Army in 1956 and retired in December 1975. I was in Vietnam for 5 tours and commanded aviation units while I was in Vietnam.
Mr. Cox, how old were you when you started in the military?
17.
17 years old.
Actually, I was 15, but they think I was 17.
Okay. How did it affect your family?
I beg your pardon?
How did it affect your family? Whenever
How
you
did it
found
affect
out
my
you were
family? Well, I lost that family, the Vietnam family, because they just couldn't put up with all these tours. I was in Vietnam back to back 5 consecutive times, and so we separated and divorced at that time. And so it's tough on families. It's tougher on families than it is the GI, because the GI is with men and with doing what he was trained to do and what he sometimes, like flying helicopters in my case, loved to do. So. But the kids back home and the wife back home is very difficult.
Okay. Was that hard for you? Whenever you weren't able to be with your family?
I don't think so. At any given time, it was a little scary, and it was when you first went in country, it was difficult to adjust and to look at another 12 months in the face of living in this tent for another 12 months. Once you got over that, then it was life as usual. You're with your friends, you're flying, you're socializing at night, sitting around playing cards and talking, and whenever you're off, you're really using it to the max. So I think for the man, it's a lot easier, particularly in an aviation unit. If you're an infantry guy and you're laying out in the woods with the snakes and the snails and the leeches and you don't even have to see a bad guy, you're just living in these terrible conditions. So that's a much different scenario than when you're an aviator. I was an infantry officer, so it was the next thing I could do. If I didn't do the aviation thing really good, then I'd be walking around on the ground. So it was sort of a motivating factor to be a great aviator.
Okay. Were you ever afraid?
Oh yeah, everybody's afraid, but there's a difference between being afraid and being scared and being afraid. Being afraid is with you always. I never had that, and some people did, and that's a terrible way to go. Just saying boo and scaring you, or shooting at you one time and it scares you and you jump. It just scares you, but that goes away very quickly. Fear is a terrible, terrible thing because it lingers, it stays. And I had friends that happened to, and they had sleepless nights, had a terrible year. It just didn't affect everybody the same way.
Did it take you long to adapt to the environment of war?
Yeah, I'm good about adapting. I've traveled the world since then. I ride motorcycles and I jump out of airplanes and I fly airplanes, and so those things all sort of climatize your emotions and your reflexes and your ability to adjust to situations, so that when you get in just an ordinary everyday environment that's difficult, you can go float right through that. It's a lot easier. So it's all, I was trained so young that I'm not saying that they make you a super guy, but they can fix you if you and get you climatized. All this training and that when you run around Fort Benning and Fort Jackson, Fort Polk, Louisiana in the woods, that's not just because they want to keep you busy.
Yeah.
You know, when you get in a bad situation, those things come out and you realize I can do this. Give you a good example. I was in basic training. First day, this sergeant came through blowing a whistle in the morning, woke us up, banging on the bunks with this piece of metal he had in his hand, turned all the lights on. Now that was shock, I'm telling you. It never happened to me again because I got up before he got there from then on. But right after that, he fell us out into Company Street. We all stood in formation as such. We didn't know what formation was. And he said, today we're going to run 5 miles. Well, I could remember what 5 miles was. That was as far as from my grandfather's house to town. And I never ran that. I never walked that. I couldn't imagine it. You know, everybody sort of looking at each other. So we went out, and we were out for a long time, seemed like forever. We came back and told us to stand at ease. And he said, now, how many people thought they couldn't run 5 miles? Well, everybody put their hand up, because we didn't know what 5 miles were. We were just kids. And he said, you didn't run 5 miles, you ran 10 miles. And he said, let me tell you what, as long as you do what I say do, I'm never gonna ask you to do something that you can't do, because I know more about you than you know about yourself. And he did. And he said, so when I tell you to do something, it's okay to do it. You can do it. So that's a great lesson. You know, it's really the challenge. You can do more than you think you can do, you know.
So, as you're in the Army, you did learn a lot of things, right? You learned things to help you do your job. What was that training like?
Oh, there's no better training. I mean, they train, if you're going to be a helicopter pilot, there will never be a helicopter pilot can fly that helicopter any better than you, trained anywhere else that can fly it better than you. And they train you right here at Fort Rucker. I went here as a fixed wing pilot first. To give you a good example, I went from fixed wing, went to Germany, went to rotary, went to helicopter training, and straight to Vietnam. Never flew a fixed wing. I bought an aircraft, and I retired in 1975. 1992, I bought my first aircraft in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. I was flying it back home. I only made one landing in it. Flying back home, and the engine quit. I went through all the emergency procedures just like I had never forgotten it. I put it in a field, just like I knew. I went through everything. Everything was pop, 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 right in my mind. So that training just never goes away. And you just, it's invaluable. You know, they've done it to so many men and for so many men. If you follow that and you abide by that, then you're gonna make it. I'll give you another example. I get knocked off this motorcycle every so often. I was knocked off down in Fort Lauderdale, Pensacola last year. I got a no scratch. In airborne training, we learn what we call the PLF, parachute landing fall. And it's hit, shift, rotate. You do that so many times, you're jumping off a 4-foot platform so many times, you just get to where you do that naturally. And I've had people that have seen me, I've ridden motorcycles all my life, and I've had a lot of accidents, that have seen me, and I had it testified to again in Pensacola. We've never seen anything like that. When you came off that bike, I don't know, you know, I'm reacting, I'm not knowing. Mm-hmm. But when I came off the bike, the only thing I did was I tore this pants leg. And the helmet hit a couple of times, scratched up. So that's how valuable training is, and how if you're receptive and you're ready to go, then fine. And it pays off in combat. I can tell you that when you get into a place like Vietnam. And that's the only place I was ever involved in anything like that was Vietnam.
Well, that's interesting, because you're saying that like whenever you train, it just sticks with you.
I'll give you another example. I didn't fly a helicopter for 30 years, and I hired a helicopter to come in to bring Santa Claus into my place of business. And he wouldn't land where I asked him to. He said it was too dangerous. I said, well, if I do it, I hadn't flown a helicopter in 30 years. if I can do that, fly this helicopter with you in it and put it in that spot, will you do it? He said, yes. So I did it. And my family, everybody was standing there just aghast. I mean, even I was sort of amazed, that this is a touch thing. With a helicopter, you use both hands, both feet all the time. So it's a real coordination. Your system has to be trained for that. You don't wake up walking, you don't wake up eating. When you first come into this world, you're taught everything, and that's just another thing. The way you respond is the way they teach you to do that. And of course, the military haven't had so much experience doing this. I mean, this has been handed down for centuries. From Roman days when they had the best forces. And, they know how to train, and they know how to give it to where you can survive. And now we've got probably the finest army we've ever had.
Is it ever hard for you to talk about the war?
Nope, not at all. Some people it is. Everybody's made up different. I've got friends of mine who have deep-seated PTSD. I don't know what that is, so I know what it is when I see it in them. I know how it affects them, but fortunately, that hadn't affected me like that. I'm 82 years old. I'm still walking around here like I've always walked around with a little sore spots.
Yeah.
Can't lift my leg quite as high, but they're just a different makeup. And so some people experience things that I didn't experience. And the young people now coming out of Kuwait and Afghanistan, they're really experiencing some really terrible things. They're not all experiencing them either. Their death rates ours was 58,000, theirs is about 5,500 in the same period of time. But that doesn't mean they're not seeing some horrible things going on.
Yeah. Okay. Well, what's your most vivid memory of Vietnam?
What are you going?
What's your most vivid memory of Vietnam?
Being shot down. I think. That sort of came to mind when you said that. I don't know, there's a lot of vivid moments, but you sort of got your mind running wide open then when you're trying to deal with all the things that are getting ready to happen to you.
Yeah.
But God has a lot to do with who you are and where you're going and what's happening to you. And I didn't even I got one scratch in Vietnam. So I went through all that time without that, and I'm blessed for that. I have a lot of friends that didn't have that weren't afforded that privilege. And so maybe I was just kept here to talk to you today. And I might drop dead as soon as I said that. That'll be the last thing that happens. But young people like you are what this should be geared to do, and the military is good at doing that for you. So I think if you're planning to go in the military, you're definitely going to strive. You're going to strive to do well, and they're going to train you.
Well, I believe that's all the questions I had for you.
Those are very good questions you made. Thank you.
No problem.
Thank you. I look forward to seeing you in the military.
Doing this interview actually taught me a lot, seeing as I did want to go into the military field. And it taught me that even though things may get hard, or even though I might be nervous about certain things, I'll always have somebody to have my back for it. I'll always have a good experience. Probably won't have the best experience all the time, but it'll always be good.
After watching this film, we hope you have learned more about your history and choose to become an ally to your neighbor in the future.